Okay, so by now, you should have already watched season 4, episode 6 of Tyler Perry's Ruthless. So let's talk about where these children have gone to. In my last video, I left you guys with a few theories and my prediction on what could have happened to these kids. Back in season 2, when the compound came up short on cash because Lilo was giving them pennies on the dollar compared to the cut that the cartel was getting, we learned that the highest came up with this crazy idea to groom the kids for something unimaginable. He wanted to load the kids on the buses and take them all to Mexico to be muled. Now, if you don't know what being muled is, look it up from season 2, when the highest was sitting out on the front porch talking to River about the innocence of children. He went into grave detail about the muling process, and I don't want to discuss that here on the channel, so just go and look it up and you'll find out exactly what muling is. And I actually thought that the kids could be on these buses headed to Mexico. That was a possibility, right? But I debunked that idea because Oliver has already taken care of Lilo, right? So they're no longer strapped for cash. Matter of fact, they're headed to the bank right now to withdraw even more money. Now, another theory that I had is that Andrew could have returned late from his assignment. It may be past the 4th hour that they graced him with to get back with the compound, or the highest may just suspect that Andrew will be late and already have the kids lined up and ready to go to the raccoon. And that's just another theory, but before we move any further on the Rakadushi kids, I want to tell you guys about that gruesome day in Jonestown that took place over 40 years ago as it relates to Jim Jones and his own children. And we do know that all of this was planned, right? But not so sure if he planned it for this particular day or not, only because his children would conveniently be away from Jonestown playing basketball when all of this happened, thereby avoiding their participation in the mass murders, right? And just understand that this was a deliberate suicide, guys. This was all planned out according to published news reports. Now, the cyanide poison and the powdered flavor aid arrived at the camp way before anyone ever arrived to set up the camp, before they planted any food or primed any land for living. The poison was already there. Jim Jones knew that the government would eventually come. He knew that their days in Jonestown were numbered, hence why he sent his armed guardsmen to go after the senator and his passengers on the plane when they came to do a news story on what was actually going on there in Jonestown. The relatives of all the people living there in Jonestown that were a part of his church, they put so much pressure on the city that the senator had to go and see exactly what was going on and lost his life in the process. And not only did people ingest the cyanide mixed with the flavor aid drink, other people were stabbed and even shot to death. And because it's still my belief that this is the last and final season of Ruthless, and we know that there are only 10 episodes so far. So if this is in fact the final season, it's my guess that the children are being prepped somewhere for the worst. Bear in mind that there were nearly 300 children that transitioned that fatal day. And I truly hope that this won't actually air on television, that we won't have to see these children in their final day, and that it will just be understood that they have passed on, right? And based on the interview from Jim Jones Jr., Jim's son, he and his brothers just happened to be away that particular day. And let me just preface here that Jim Jones and his wife, they did have a son of their own, but they also adopted an African-American son. They adopted an Indian son, and they also adopted another son of another race. I can't quite remember off the top of my head right now. So we know that the trailers are empty, and the only mention of these kids in a long time was the sacrifice that the highest was making on their lives if Andrew tried any funny business while he was in the free world. And I'll pose the question again, where do you think the children are? Drop me your comments down below. And if you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. You know I'd appreciate it. And if you're a fan of Tyler Perry's Ruthless, go ahead and sub to this channel for more videos just like this one. Thank you so much for joining me today, you guys, and I'm going to see you on the next one.